Hello everyone. So, I'm actually going live a second time. I had finished the event on the last one, but I do not wish that to, but some things started to happen. And I did not like what was going on. So, I am so I'm going live again to give you a good stream rather than the stream we had. So, maybe it'll give someone a chance to show up too. So I've taken that other video and made it private. I'm keeping it up just so that if I wish to later on, I have access to the screenshots, even though I did get them. I may delete it. I'm gonna think about it for a little while, but I didn't want you guys to be missing a video. So I did do my SOS training. As you can see, I'm down again on that. I did some of my training for my aura. So there's that. I do have it ready that we can keep going in. Oh, cool. Honestly, I'll go in with this team as long as none of them leave. It would be nice to get a professor, but I will go in with this team. I don't like that we've got a ton leaving. Okay, I guess I'm leaving. Yeah, I'll take that team. So right now I need it's either Fred or George, I can't remember. And then I have another one set that I'm working on. And then I need the chamber 3 or 4 for Harry's wand. Lovely. And I've tried to turn off AR and I can't. So that's a warning if you are trying to fight in the fortress. I don't know if it's just me, but the fortress may be at a point where they are insisting everyone fight AR. I've gone into my settings, turned on AR, turned off AR, turned on AR, turned off fighting in the fortress, AR, turned off AR again. Nothing's working. And my understanding is you should have AR against the foundables before you have AR against the foes. So there is no way I am going to make it against "21 foes by myself." Nope, I'm going to leave. So this Neo Bio Nick, you may want to be aware of. Because as you saw, we had a good team, and they left. And obviously it doesn't appear to have been their device, because right as soon as they left, they went right back in. And yes, I am going to call out if someone does that. It's the second phone call. I don't know who the first one was.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, what's up?
Nothing much. Just trying to get my grandma's cat. Got one of them.
Okay.
They ran upstairs. I negative obbed.
You what?
I'm making nothing the other form of Charizard.
Okay.
Down it. I got the CP. Oh dear. Stay. It's 4,440 CP. 4440. It's. Oh! You okay there?
Yeah, you just woke me up.
No, he was asking the cat.
I dropped Yoda and he just kind of landed on his belly.
You said, "Are you okay?" That you said, "Okay." Are you okay, Dad?
Yeah, are you okay or?
He's
I
tired.
just woke up. I'm tired.
Oh, you took a nap?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's 4,440 CP. My jaw dropped when I saw the CP. I was like, what? So yeah, I was just letting you know I got up here safely.
Thank you. Did you try calling her again earlier?
Yeah, I did, but you were asleep.
She didn't answer the phone. Was on vibrate, so. Anyway,
I just pulled Chrissy's vehicle into the garage since that's what my grandma said I could do.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm glad you're here safely.
Yeah, I got here safely. It's had fun getting up the hills. I think I got them.
You have fun getting up the hills.
His car has no get up and go, obviously.
How come you had the fun getting up all the hills?
It got up and going. It's just when you're going the speed limit, other people are trying to go past the speed limit. You're just like, ah!
Okay.
Yeah, I've got also, it does not cost 50 to Mega Evolve Charizard.
How much?
It costs 50 to Mega Evolve Charizard X, but if you're not evolved Charizard Y, it costs say 200.
I knew that, so I kind of figured.
So now I have both forms, so now it costs 50. My favorite form is kind of the Y now, is because it's CP, it's kind of monstrous. So now I only have 25, but people keep inviting me to raids. I couldn't get it there in time, so now I have 3 remote raid passes just sitting there.
Okay.
As the missionaries told me today, I don't need to pay that amount right now, I just need to pay it before the end of the semester.
Don't spend all your money, please.
I'm not spending all my money, I'm conserving it.
Okay.
That's going to be my last... I guess I will have to spend a bit to get gas when I'm coming back down.
I understand that.
We're saying... He's saying don't keep buying raid passes.
Keep buying raid passes is what I'm saying, Caden.
I'm only buying the 3. I don't need any more than that.
Okay.
What I'm doing is I'm basically gonna get, what was it? I'm gonna get enough of them, Mega Evolve them a few times, and that's what I'm calling it at.
Okay.
I've got these raid passes, so if you do a raid, if you find one and you want to invite me, you can.
I'm not going back into town, probably not.
Well, I need walking, but we do need to get David.
But yeah.
I'm gonna find raids by then.
Alrighty.
Alright, I'll let you go. You sound pretty tired.
Yep.
Alright, bye.
Bye-bye.
I think this makes it even more spooky fighting.
What?
They have AR on, so I covered up my phone camera. Because I can't find a way to turn it off. You gotta admit, look at that.
Thought there was an AR. AR mouse, which you can...
I've tried. we're gonna need to do this. And I covered it up with kind of thin tape, so look, it changes. Well, I mean, look at it now. Rather than the way it was, now it's got a red tint to it.
Ah. Had a hard time waking up this morning. Yeah, Jade's response was to this. He said, you need to call him personally because you dropped it off. You need to tell him, listen, this is a joke. I mean, my wife's already upset as I heck at you. And I'm a little upset now, but you need to fix this. We don't need to. You need to.
So what he's talking about is we're having trouble with our insurance company, as I said on an earlier stream. So we're looking at, we will either be switching agents or completely switching companies. I'm pretty sure we're not staying with this agent. And we need to get on it ASAP. I don't know if anyone's open now.
No. Not on Saturday.
There's plenty of places that are open on Saturdays, but I don't know about now. That was not fair. 4 in a row? Something is way up. Way, way up. That was totally wrong. I'm glad I did what I did, though, where I went after everything as partials. That was a lot closer than I like things to get. How did they kill it and die? Go figure. Something's up with the fortresses today. They fixed the looping, but it seems like they may have broken some other stuff accidentally. after I'm through streaming, then I'll go ask in Discord if anyone else is experiencing this. Because for the Urkling to hit 4 times in a row, and for someone to, I guess it's possible to die, but they died after the thing died. And then the fact you can't turn off AR mode. Okay, so I need 2 of Ron's wand, and I need 5 of George's wand. And then I need Harry's wand. Yes, I'm considerate, guys. Yeah, they beat me to it. The other Magi decided the same thing I did, that we were up a creek without a paddle on not using our invigoration drought. Looks like the aura got its first striking, and then left without taking the hit. Okay, now I'll go in as long as we all go in. If we can get another professor, another or another magi, it would be even better. I don't know about going in with only 3 of us, and I'm glad I jumped because someone else was jumping at the same time. And 2 of us in Dark 5, I don't think could have done it.
I know you're streaming, but for all those who don't know, I am diabetic, so I'm glad I caught that.
So if you're that low, is salad going to be enough to a good enough meal? I don't know if we have any chips left. We could have, that would make taco salad, or well, I guess you could have nachos with salad, yeah.
I think one of the toppings for the salad was pineapple too, and you know what pineapple juice will do.
That's fine, I'm just asking. You know how things affect you better, your blood sugars better than I do, because I don't keep track of everything you eat and what your blood sugars are doing.
I had to grab all of them all at Jake's. Came on home, it was in 197, so I gave myself 3 units. Well, that 3 units definitely did the job.
Overdid the job. You forget granola is usually oatmeal, so it should be, the carbs should be figured lower. because it's more a blood sugar stabilizer than a raiser, like most other grains. You do that frequently with oatmeal. When you eat oatmeal for cereal for breakfast, like just oatmeal, I've seen you do the same.
This is kind of gross. Oatmeal, though, I wouldn't really call oatmeal. It was some type of cereal with blueberries.
My guess it was a granola, which is a oatmeal mixed with nuts and a few other things, and it's generally what oatmeal is, or what granola is. And then it's baked and whatever else, rather than made soft like oatmeal, like the oatmeal that you frequently, or that you also mess up when you have for breakfast. So we basically just have you and me for dinner tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
For everything tomorrow.
I know.
I really wish kids would give us a heads up. Rather than, well, I'm going to my uncle's because I want to have the homemade pizza that they decided to have after you 2 weeks ago decided you're making lasagna and have given us heads up that we need to give you 2 weeks in advance notice.
They've got a mind of their own. Caden said if he was here, there's a chance Caden might be home, but I don't know. I doubt it because his sister's birthday tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be out as late as he can with her.
I don't blame him for that. I'm not saying anything there. It's the others that I'm kind of frustrated with.
Yeah, I got a daughter who's turning 17 tomorrow. Wish I could be there for her, but I'm here and she's there.
We need another or. Should have gone after that other two. Oh well. Let's see what I got a ton of. Would have been nice if Oakfield had held off long enough to get one more, to see if one more person would come in, but that's okay. Sorry about the sounds in the background. I can't do anything about it. Brett thinks that he needs to listen to politics all the time now because he's frustrated about everything going on and doesn't realize one of the best ways to deal with your stress and to de-stress is to turn the stuff off if it's making you frustrated. Instead, he just keeps getting more frustrated and more frustrated. And listening to more and more and wondering how people can support someone, not realizing that, or some of the people, some of the things they're saying, not realizing that not everything is being reported accurately on every station and from every person. And he listens to a ton of Facebook stuff. I will admit there's a ton of false news on there. And he does not know how to determine between to make the determinations between false news, real news, everything else. So sadly, yes, we are still getting issues with that in America. I totally can see how it's happening on both sides. I've tried to point it out to him over and over and over again, and he just does not comprehend. So there's not much I can do there. Yeah. But that's one thing to be aware of. I know it's not just happening, it's not just Republicans whose eyes are blind to it. There are Democrats who have not learned to distinguish false news versus real news. So don't just blame it on anyone who's saying that it's exclusively Republicans or exclusively Democrats that are blinded to the truth of the situations and to what's going on, I'm sorry, but you're false. It's happening on both sides of the aisle, and that's exactly how all of this is going on. There are a lot of there's a lot of false news going around, but there's a lot of truth going around, and you need to find a way to weed through all of that. Honestly, I wish both candidates were thrown out and each party were to just submit new candidates that aren't political. Let me make that very clear. That's why Donald Trump's where he's at, is people are sick of the career politicians. So, honestly, if one of them were to one party were to throw out their candidate and come up with a candidate that's not a career politician, that's not towing the party line, that basically is one that's willing to try and improve the country, improve the relationship between Democrats and Republicans, and basically try to serve the country. Not serve their party, serve the country. And there's a huge difference in serving the country and serving their party. If they were to serve their country, which is what they're claiming they're going to do, and I hate to say it, no party for many years has served the country. They've served their party. That's been their whole focus, is how can I serve my party? Not what's best for the country, what's going to be the very best decision for this country as a whole. Now, I've seen signs of some of them trying here and there, but many times they go back to serving their party. If we were to get one that is willing to serve the country, and here's another thing, honestly, third parties out there, wake up! So many third parties want this country to become a three-party system or whatever. Honestly, you could make it a two-party system without either the Democrats or the Republicans. Or maybe a one-party system. Honestly, there are people on both sides that are so fed up with what's happening right now that it is very, 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 very possible that a third party could step in and take 50-75% of the vote or more. And just come out of the blue and become a strong contender for the presidency, if not win it. I really think there's a possibility a third party, if they were to put in the right... Good, that's what I needed. Finally got it. Got some of it. I'm gonna need more of those, but anyone who offers a candidate that will fit the needs of the country right now is going to be in a position of strong contention no matter what party they're part of. But they have to fit the needs of the country. And right now, there's not, neither of the candidates fit the needs of the country. And that's the way it is. Neither of them fit the needs of the country. So until there's a candidate that fits the needs of the country, there is an opening for someone to come out of the blue and win. I will say I have heard a huge demand for nope, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna try and go in with 3 Maggies. So basically there is a opening in this country for a good candidate, or 2 or 3. And someone could come out of the blue and completely shock both parties as they're like, well, we're gonna win because of the other side. I will say right now, talking to people, both sides are sure they're gonna win because this country can't be stupid enough to elect people from the other side. That's, both sides are saying that. You can't be stupid enough, this is coming from the Democrats, to elect Donald Trump again. No one is that blind and that ignorant that that will happen. On the other side, the Republicans, many people are saying no one is that stupid enough to elect Joe Biden. Look at everything he's done and he's doing, and he can't even keep track of what he's saying and what he's running for. And I'm not saying any of these are true. I'm saying this is the rhetoric on both sides. Both sides' rhetoric is that the other side is they aren't stupid enough. No one can be that stupid. Well, honestly, that's exactly the problem we have in this country right now. Is rather than having a fair, honest, open discussion, not attacking people, talking about a discussion of beliefs, not of personal vendettas and personal, I'm going to take this out on you as a person, rather, what about a discussion on masks? Are they right to wear? Are they not? Is there a problem with wearing masks? Are they helpful? Are they not? Should we mandate them? Should we not? That's a discussion that could be had. I'm not going to say, personally, I feel that masks should be worn. and that a lot of the rhetoric that's out there about masks is literally rhetoric. It's not honestly true. I have not seen the scientific evidence to back up what I keep seeing those who are anti-mask put out. Oh, if you wear a mask for more than 2 hours, or an hour, or I've seen some say 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. If you wear it that long, you've completely starved your brain of oxygen and you're gonna die. Or you're at greater risk of dying and getting sick and everything. And that makes no sense, because if that were the case, then you would have surgeons dying right, left, and center, and you don't have that. And the reason you'd have surgeons dying right, left, and center is, what do they do on a regular basis? There are surgeons who operate for 18 to 24 hours straight in an operating room, and they wear the surgical masks for that long. Now, then you get the same people arguing, yeah, but cloth masks aren't as good as surgical masks. Okay, so you just said you get less oxygen wearing a mask. Or you don't get enough oxygen wearing a mask that you can breathe for more than a few minutes, or else you're not getting sufficient oxygen. And then you claim that there's greater oxygen and everything transmission between a cloth mask than a surgical mask. And yet I'm throwing out to you at the very same time that surgeons wear those masks, surgical masks, for 18 hours, etc., etc. No, you cannot tell me that both can be true and both points of view support your belief that you shouldn't wear a mask. Those don't add up. But a lot of those who are anti-mask are looking for every single thing they can. Now, does some air escape a mask? Yes. Especially if the mask has been put on incorrectly. Does it reduce transmission? Yes! That's the whole point of the whole situation. It reduces transmission. It doesn't eliminate transition. It reduces transmission. But on the other side, there are people literally saying that this group and that group need to provide millions of dollars of restitution to anyone who has black heritage. Now, but then you point out to them other forms of slavery and talk to them about restitution there, and oh no, even if it was slavery, full-on slavery that happened in the past 20 years. That person's not entitled to restitution. They're still alive. They experienced slavery and they're still alive. Or it was their parents who experienced slavery and they're alive. They don't deserve restitution. But people whose ancestors 150 years ago were emancipated deserve restitution. Another thing is we need to wipe the history books, but we aren't claiming we aren't wiping the history books. I have literally seen that come across my Facebook feed from this very same person. Like, we need to take this out of history books and this out of history books and this out of history books, and most all mention of the Civil War and this and that and whatever, and it's like, and then they claim that restitution is necessary. And that's not, that taking it out of our history books and teaching our children about it and that it's wrong is not wiping the history books. And that there's no issue with that. In fact, it should happen. But it was so significant. I literally have heard people say this. It was so significant, so major, that there's no way our country will ever forget. What happened was so horrible. There is no way at all our country will ever forget what happened. And when I threw in their face the fact that the fact that even here, let's go here, the internment camps that Japanese were put in here in the U.S., yes, they did happen, which a lot of people deny. They deny that their conditions were horrid, which, if you do your research, they were horrid. And that happened since slavery. Let me make this very clear. If you ask all these that are pro restitution, who should be made or if restitution should be made to Japanese Americans, their response is no, they didn't experience anything like slavery. There was no issue there. There was no, and yet, honestly, and I'm going to throw this out, they experienced beatings if they went against the rules of the camp. They experienced starvation if they did not choose to go. They had a small provision given to them unless they chose to go work for the farmers who would pay them way under wage and then and then they had to purchase at way over going rates. And they could have a little bit more, but all their property was stripped from them. Basically, their lands and everything else where they originally lived was taken and sold. Taken by the government and sold. They were kept in conditions very similar to similar or worse than those that slaves went through at a time when conditions for regular people were worse than they were at the time that Japanese Americans went through this. There is every reason that's given, other than generations of people living through it, is very similar to what Japanese Americans went through. And some German Americans. Now, the German Americans did not experience it to the degree that Japanese Americans did. But some of those same German Americans had all experienced the exactly what blacks, the racism. And that was it. The racism that blacks experience in some areas now was experienced by Germans during both wars. To make matters worse, some of those Germans had been held in concentration camps that were even worse conditions than they were those that Japanese Americans were put into during the First War, and then were treated to that racism during the Second War, and were constantly fearing for their lives, and if they would be thrown, them and their families this time, would be thrown back into a concentration camp and then shipped back to a homeland that they may have known nothing about at the end of the war. Yes, this happened. This was perpetrated by British and Americans to German people and to Japanese people in the 1900s. Not the 1800s, the 1900s. And when they're faced with that fact, they're like, no, that never happened. I've literally had people tell me that, not realizing that yes, it did happen, and this is exactly why it needs to stay in the history books, because this was whitewashed from the history books, because no one wanted people to know about it. And it is only the descendants of those who experienced this. And I got out of that. So we are in trouble there. It is only the descendants of those who went through it who are even aware. And even that, many of them were not aware. In fact, when faced with the truth of the fact, faced with the first inklings that may have happened, they said it must have been a different person with the same name. And it took gathering the facts and showing them more information for them to realize this actually did happen, and it happened to their ancestor. And so, if we wipe the history books, I really believe the same thing will happen. And some of these same people who are demanding retribution, I have literally seen them say that whites should be put into slavery. And whites should be in slavery for the next 200, 300, 400 years or more, that there should never be, that slavery should be put back into practice. but blacks to whites. As blacks as the owners and whites as the slaves. Yes, I have heard that. In today's age, another thing they won't acknowledge, though, is the fact that the first slavery was one group of people to their own people. And I don't remember if it was whites to whites or blacks to blacks. In fact, I believe it was people in the Middle East to people in the Middle East. So, not really. So basically, the ancestors of these same people. Were the first slaveholders. And then you have plenty of situations of just one nation to another nation. One nation holding the people of another nation as slaves. You get that plenty of times throughout history. So, where do we draw the line? And when asked that, they say, well, and they can't answer. But then you quickly see them, once again, spouting the same thing. And when I do get an answer, it's that would never happen. Blacks would never put blacks into slavery. And whites deserve to know what blacks were put through. Not really, or basically saying we should be able to punish people for for the actions of their ancestors. But then when you say, okay, so anyone descended from this person, and there were blacks here in the U.S. that held slaves. And so, okay, anyone who's descendant from this black person gets put into slavery too, right? Oh, no, that's a black person. Well, they held slaves. Yeah, but that's a different story. And so, that's one of the issues I see. Is, once again, this is proof that people do not understand their history. They've forgotten already because some of these things have already been whitewashed. And they want more whitewashed. And as I see it, the most likely outcome of this is that you end up with people in slavery again, in one way or the other. There are too many cases in our history of people believing that and ending up actually worse off than they started because they believed that history would not be repeated, and we only find out about it as we find old records, or, after a lot of digging and trying to find out the truth and everything else. And then, once that's found out, then steps can be taken to try to prevent it ever happening again. Wiping out our history will not get rid of racism. Personally, because those who believe that blacks are worse than whites are more likely to retain that belief and to be able to claim that if there's not a reason saying, excuse me, no. I really wish that person had just let them die. Themselves die like the other one did. But that's okay. Now let's see. I have a feeling we're not going to beat this one. Yeah, that's why he's not even going after anything. Let's go see if I can do anything to help anyone. No? Oh, now I can. go after that. And you go after yours. And maybe we'll be okay. Go after it, please. Melissa. Nope, we're screwed because he decided, us Blackthorn decided to sit out a lot of it and then to take it at the last minute. And then jump out. And I can't do anything more. Well, I could, but that's kind of frustrating to me. So I'm going to at least stay out here for a little while. To try to get enough to make up for that before I go back in. That should have been a beat. If they would have gone after their own stuff, etc. But I know more than once I saw him sitting out. The M. Blackthorn sitting out when there was stuff for them to go after. And just sitting there long enough that it was very clear as we tried to go after their stuff for them because there was so much for them. And they were just, I think, knowing what's happened before, they were upset that other people were going after their stuff, not realizing that there was enough there that they were going to have trouble. And then when the other one kind of just gave up and didn't go after the one they should have, that they could have taken down the easiest, when we were right close at time, it made it so we couldn't win. But I will say, so on my other rant, I will say there are plenty of people that are saying that, plenty of Republicans that are also, they're putting the line out that according to, that Black Lives Matter has said that you can kill any Republican out there and there should be no consequences. If they're a Republican, they have every right to be killed. And I think we all know that if that is true, there's a serious issue. But from what I've seen, okay, there may be subsects of Black Lives Matter that may be claiming that, but that doesn't sound right to me. I'm seeing the same with a lot of, and supposedly Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of New York, or of Washington, D.C. are supporting that stance, and I can't see that either. So, I'm getting ready to get off.
Where's the toppings?
Okay. You decided we're good that way?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We should have two different types of lettuce, the romaine and a butter lettuce. Hopefully the butter lettuce is still good. And so the belief that, and yes, I'm seeing this and hearing this from Republicans, that this is, what's going on. So, I think everyone needs to stop, try to do research into the things they hear, not just spout, and really consider their points and their views on different things. And does this make sense? Is this going to accomplish what I would like to accomplish? Is this the best to keep our country strong and becoming the country that I would like to see? And not just focus on one point. There are some that are just focused on we want a whole bunch of support for those who are low income, etc. And this site has promised it, so who cares what that'll take? And as long as I get the support, it doesn't matter if the country ends up so far in debt and ends up such that we're all worse off because of it. That less people are working because there's more incentive not to work than to work. And yes, that has happened. That did happen in Russia. And it's not, it's the Russians. No, there was a point in time when I am saying this, I'm going to be completely honest, not from the view of an American. This is what I have heard from my brother-in-law, who was born and raised in Moscow, whose father died in Moscow not that long ago. A year or two ago, I think it was, maybe 3. And who was decently well off in Moscow. So don't try and, there's that judgment of, no, that's just what the government wants you to believe. No, this didn't come from the government. I mean, yes, it is the government's line, or Republicans' line. I should say, not even the government. But honestly, when you get it from someone who comes from a country who experienced that, it's kind of hard to claim. And honestly, from some of the things I've heard from him, he seems to be more a Democrat than a Republican in many ways. But in this one way, he supports the Republican viewpoint of this is what happens when you give people too much. And when there's no incentive to work harder. So it's always helpful to ask, where did you get that information? And that's why I'm sharing that I got this information from someone not trying to toe a party line or give rhetoric, but who is in a position to have first-hand knowledge of what happened there. And that's also why it's helpful to talk to blacks, to talk to people who may be experiencing some form of prejudice in your area. And I'm saying that in that way because there are many different forms of prejudice that people may not be aware of going on. Gonna lose this one again because someone decides they're just gonna sit out. Don't even know if I'm gonna get the elite. Nope.